Welcome to Tennishackery, the podcast. This is the place where we discuss all things about tennis, which is related to technology, fitness, and the brain game. So the three of us, myself, Alex, and Soham, are a group of extremely passionate tennis nerds slash geeks slash coaches. We are based out of the San Francisco Bay Area, and this is our 8th episode. And this episode is all going to be about Roland Garros, the Roland Garros French Open this year, which just concluded, and our own way Soham, he just came back from a trip from there, so we're super excited to talk about his experiences and what we can learn from these awesome pros and of course clay court tennis. Again, our you can find us at all the online platforms, social media platforms, Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify. Our handle is at Tennishackery with a Y. All right, without further ado, let's get started. So how you doing, guys?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Doing great.
Thanks for the intro, Tarun. I think it's been a while since we
Yes.
last met, last
Yep.
recorded,
Yep.
which was an exciting episode. And just to add to what Tarun was saying, I think we are growing on the social handle and on most of the social platforms that we're on, and we're very thankful for just our viewers, listeners, our audience who are appreciating some of our latest reels that we have created and just general more content. We surely have a lot more in store for you guys. I want to create one actually, and I'll tell you about it, about my experience from French Open. I want to put something out there, so definitely look out for that. And yeah, very excited to be back and recording another episode with you guys. And Alex, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy, but my foot is recovering a lot, so I'm starting to play again,
Awesome.
which has been super nice. It's been so long, but no, clay court season for me is like the funnest season to watch.
Yeah.
I grew up on clay court, and so when I lived in Spain too, it was all clay. So for me, that's like the Grand Slam that I enjoyed the most. And this year I thought it was a great tournament. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Soham. Um, a real question that I have that comes up right away is like, what stood out the most to you watching the players practice, but also in the matches, just like clay court, what stood out?
Great question, Alex. And so I have, this is I can actually talk a little bit about just the general process and my day at the French Open. Obviously, when I was growing up, I didn't exactly play in India on clay courts. It's like pseudo clay almost. So, but it's as close to clay it can get. So I
What
was
color?
super.
What color was it?
It was like sand, almost like it's not exactly clay, but it's as close to clay
It's
as it could get.
bricky clay, right? The orange brick powder.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I was always excited to be in Paris for the French Open, seeing it live, and it was one of the things that I ticked off the checklist. That box
Yep.
that you tick off.
Yep.
Things you want to accomplish, like goals.
Bucket list.
Exactly. There you go. It's trying to find that phrase.
That
So,
word.
bucket list. Yeah. So I was actually in Europe for 2 weeks. My final stop was in Paris, and just touring around Paris. And then, my friend and I, who are both on the same team, we happened to overlap our trip, and we went to the French Open on the second day, which was a Monday, 27th of May, and we had no clue about the schedule when we bought the tickets, but I think a few days before we actually went, we found out that Nadal was going to play. So Nadal is my all-time favorite. He is my idol, someone who I look up to, and I was so excited because he's the one player I haven't seen live in person. I've seen Fed, I've seen Novak, I've seen Alcaraz, Sinner, more recently at Indian Wells. We spoke about that in one of the episodes. And I was extremely excited just for the opportunity to see him play at Roland Garros, right? See, he's the GOAT of play. won 14 majors over there, and I was so excited. In fact, the lineup that day was really good. I believe it was Sinner on Susan Longlong, then Tsitsipas, then there was Coco Gauff, then there was obviously Philippe Chatrier. It was Nadal versus Zverev, and there was another Simon Matthew court. I also there was also Daniel Medvedev, and one of the outside courts had Ben Shelton. So it was a great lineup of players, and the feeling of just entering that whole arena with so many people it was so exciting, right? We stood in line. We got there very early. We basically went there as soon as the gates were going to open. And we were there around 10 o'clock in the morning when the gates opened. One thing I did want to mention is getting tickets to the French Open is extremely difficult. In the process of getting tickets, we actually got scammed as well, which was rather unfortunate. We lost a little bit of money there. But we were determined to kind of go because, for me, I wanted to see Rafa. It's probably his last tournament last year at the tour. And we somehow connected with somebody online who was willing to give tickets, sell tickets. We got the tickets anyway. We are there, enter the stadium, and then it's like a dream once you enter. Like there's so many people, the atmosphere is buzzing. There's such a great vibe there, and the first thing we did is we actually like bought our kind of shirts, caps, whatever. I got this one. And it's significant. I'll come to that, why it's significant. So we entered, we kind of walk around. The first thing after we buy our gifts, souvenirs, is we want to kind of check out the practice courts, because the access to the practice courts are actually much easier, especially early in the morning. So we were like, okay, let's just walk around, see some of the players who are playing later on in the day. And obviously there's security, there's heavy security, so you can't just walk in. You have to kind of wait in line a little bit and walk in during at intervals. And they want to make sure that it's not too crowded, right? So that's kind of the process. And then I think the first couple of people that we saw practice were Marcos Giron, and Arnold Lucas. Is it Lucas Arnoldi?
Ronaldo, yes.
Lucas,
the Italian guy, right?
The
Ronaldo,
Italian kid who actually had a fantastic tournament. Then I saw our Indian rep, Sumit Nagal.
Nice.
That was great. It's so nice to have somebody from India represent. And we saw him practice actually they were practicing with other players. I forget who Sumit was practicing with, but he was practicing with another player. So that's pretty much what we did in the first hour, because I think the Sinner was playing Chris Eubanks. So that match did not start till a little later, so we thought we'll just kind of walk around, right? Now, I think I read somewhere, I heard someone, I think Nadal's match was like later on in the afternoon. And I know from my experience at Indian Wells that if you're playing later on in the afternoon, they would usually practice for like half an hour or so.
Yes, before,
And I have heard great stories about people who have seen Rafa practice, that his practice sessions are super intense. So that's more exciting. So what we did is I told my buddy, like, you know what, we want to be there to watch Rafa well in advance, because it's going to be super crowded.
Yep.
So what we did is we asked one of the security guys, one of the usher type people there, that, hey, can you let us know where Nadal is going to be practicing and at what time? A lot of people might just kind of tell us or tell you that we're not sure or whatever. But that one guy was super nice. He made us wait. He went inside some room and he asked one of the other supervisors or something, like to find out exactly what time he's going to practice and on what court.
Wow.
And he came, yeah,
Nice.
that was like clutch move.
Yep.
I think I thought of that because I was like, dude, I want to see Rafa, right? And he came back and he told us, go to this court and he's going to be practicing at this time. I think at 11 o'clock or something. I think his match might have been around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
Nice. That's smart.
My friend and I, we just walked there. We are like, we're just going to go there, sit down. Doesn't matter who's there. We'll wait. And that was the best move we made because we went to that practice court, 3 or 4, I forget. And we got in. There were not many people there. And we just grabbed one of the front row seats and we just sat down because we knew he was going to come there.
Was like a stadium, right? Was like a
Yeah, it's like an open, like it's not a stadium. It's like
one of the outer
practice.
courts, probably one of the outer courts, right?
Yeah, it was one
Yeah,
of the outer
courts.
not a
'cause, like,
stadium.
I saw like a few YouTube videos of his practice during the French, and it was like a match.
Yeah, I'll come to that. So we basically go there, sit down, and then we hear whispers that, hey, Rafa might be coming here. And suddenly in half an hour, like 1,000 people show up. And the thing is, courts are small, right? Practice courts, you can't all get in.
Yeah.
So that's why great move by us to get there early, sit down, and just wait. And I forget who was practicing before, but he got done, and then here he was. Rafa comes in with Carlos Moya and his team, and I'm just super excited. I have my phone out, and recording. I'm just super excited, super stoked, because I'm just about to watch Rafa for the first time and probably my last time. And then he has this practice session. And yes, I mean, the way he was hitting the ball, it's crazy. Like, the speed at which I was able to see the level of topspin that he's using, and he's hitting deep every single ball. Like, and he's such a physical specimen. Like, he's so well built that it was just, I have captured a lot of videos. So,
so but when you're looking at his practice, like in 3
Yeah.
dimensions, right? Like most of us watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Were you able to feel the spin and the weight of the shots? Like, was it really kicking up
I
on
mean,
those clay
I
courts?
think what I observed was it's just when you watch these players pros live, whether it's Rafa or anybody else, it's the speed at which the ball comes or they hit is 10 times more than what you see on TV almost.
Yeah.
I could obviously see the spin of the ball. You can't feel it because I'm not on the court.
Yeah, of course.
But definitely the way they hit it, it's like their footwork is immense. I mean, that's something that I learned. He's taken it on the rise. The footwork is immense. It's crazy. And his I forget, who is it? Mark Lopez? Is he on the team? Alex?
No,
he was his doubles
other
partner, right?
Lopez.
Yeah.
It's a Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mark Lopez. You're right.
Yeah.
I think it is Mark Lopez. So
Yeah, it
anyway,
is. You're right.
he's the person who was hitting with Rafa.
And
he was gassed. That guy was gassed. Like, he was having a hard time keeping up with Rafa. So Rafa did his strokes from the baseline, then he did some volleys, then he did overheads, serves. And again, I took a bunch of videos. Everybody was super excited. You heard like Vamos like a million times. And anyway, so he's done. There are obviously so many cameramen and all that, cameramen and women. And he gets done. He's just kind of doing some interviews before he leaves the court. David Ferrer walked in, which was awesome because he's a good friend of Rafa. And they're just talking, and then Carlos Moya and the team like leaves. Nadal's just doing his last round of interviews, and then he's walking, right? And then he just comes to our side. So when he was hitting and doing all this practice, he was on the other side, not the side nearest to where I was sitting. But now when he's about to leave the court, he's walking by our side, and all of a sudden he stops next to where I was, right? So then, he starts signing autographs, giving his autograph. And that's when I took my cap which I'm wearing, and just kind of reached as close to him as I could. And I just said like Vamos Rafa like 3-4 times loud, and he took my hand and he autographed it. It's right here. If
Right
you
there,
guys
yeah.
see it, if you can see it, here,
Yep.
right? And that was the most special moment for me because it's almost like a fanboy moment.
Yeah,
But
it is a fanboy moment. Yeah.
I
Totally.
respect Rafa so much, and what he like his off-court personality is something that I really admire, and I was so happy because that really made my trip to Europe almost worth it. Let alone Roland Garros. Got to see him live practice, got to get an
Yes.
autograph from him, and this is something that I'll always cherish. You know,
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's
so
amazing.
that's basically it was great actually, and I'll definitely post some videos on our Tennishackery handle, which will be open to all our viewers to see kind of how his practice session went. And yeah, then a few of the other things that we did after his practice, after we left the practice courts, where we walked around the whole area, we saw there's a statue of Rafa Nadal.
Not a very good one.
Yes, that reminds me. Yeah, if people are interested, that reminds me of what James Corden did with David Beckham. He pranked David Beckham, that video with a terrible statue. That was
You sent that video. I was dying.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
but
that
yeah,
statue is not that great. The Rafa statue, I don't know. Yeah,
it could be better, but it's a statue, and we took up a bunch of clicked a bunch of pictures, and then we went to the museum. There's a museum actually, a French Open, which is pretty nice. It's not too big, but it's it talks about the French Open. It talks about the history. Obviously, it has like Rafa's, his first jerseys and his rackets and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, we walk around there. Then we go to Philippe Chatrier, and then we had tickets at Susan Long Long. So saw. Oh, actually, before we went to watch Sinner, I think we went to watch Shelton versus I think Hugo Gaston of France. That place was jam packed.
Oh, yeah.
Like we couldn't get in because like it was a huge French crowd.
Yeah.
It was almost like 99% French, and like I could barely hear anybody cheering for Shelton. I really like Ben Shelton actually. So I wanted to see him. He ended up winning in 4 sets, I think.
There's a
Go ahead.
There's a lot of players that were complaining about like the audience during the French, right?
Yeah.
Like you were in the audience, like how was it? Because I know that like Iga complained,
Yeah.
Coco complained,
David Goffin
complained.
Fun. Yeah.
Those are the females, and then from the guys' side, I think Zverev. I mean, a bunch.
Yeah.
David Goffin, who hardly ever speaks about anything like this, he actually complained, which means like obviously he felt it.
Yeah.
So
was it because like people were like talking during the serve motion or during the rallies?
No, so I think what I wasn't actually watching the Shelton Hugo Gaston match live, but I can see like French crowd being a little bit rowdy in the sense that they're like very pro French.
Yeah.
Nothing against like them. Sure, you can do that, but it's like you can as a player. I feel like it should be a little bit more equal in terms of support.
Right.
Like I could sense even being on the outside waiting in line trying to get in, that they were like 99% French. Like that's kind of hard as a player from another country.
Right. So
that's one part of it. That one I sense from just being outside. But when I went in and watched the Sinner match, Tsitsipas match, Coco Golf match, when I sat in the stadium, I didn't really feel that sense of like crowd, discrimination or anything of that sort. Probably because I didn't see anybody playing who was French. If I saw someone who is French, it could be different. And I feel like that's the problem. Like if I saw like Monfils play versus somebody who's not French,
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
I could. The other guy might, the opponent from another country, could feel a little bit hurt. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in terms of like talking between points and general like crowd behavior, it wasn't too bad according to me. Obviously, I'm not playing, so it's different feeling.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it didn't seem too bad.
Nice.
But I can understand like players might feel hurt. So I got to see Sinner. The good thing, but I must say, the good thing that day was it started to rain a little bit. So the outside courts were suspended, but the other main courts,
Yeah.
like the Philippe Chatrier as well as the Susan Longnau,
Mhm.
they have like roofs.
Right.
So we were able to watch those matches. I saw Sinner versus Eubank. Sinner is on a different level, and
Man, that guy is insane.
he's so consistent and so like he's so he doesn't have much of an up and down in performance. You know, the
Very calm.
variance is very low in his performance.
Absolutely.
And shout out to him for being the first Italian to be world number one.
Yeah.
In men's. He deserves it. I have seen him and Indian Wells practice with Darren Cahill, and Darren is such an amazing coach. I really like him as a coach.
Me too.
He's a
Yeah,
great
he's a
coach.
great coach.
And I really believe like Sinner is here to stay. Like he has fantastic technique. I know he lost in the semis, right?
Yep. He lost to Alcaraz.
Yeah,
He lost.
he had
He
like
lost.
a hip injury. He had a
Yeah.
hip injury prior, so he didn't have the best lead up for it either.
Yeah, exactly. But still, I think he had a great French Open. So then I saw Tsitsipas. He played against Fuskovic from
Yeah.
Hungary.
Futuris. Yeah.
That was actually a pretty good match. I think Tsitsipas ran away at the end, but the first set and a half, I think it was super competitive. I think Tsitsipas also had a pretty good tournament, but he just came up against was it Alcaraz? I think he lost to Alcaraz in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would
So
you say though, like if you think back about all these matches from the men and from the women, like you said, heavy, that the balls were heavier than when you're in person, way heavier than you see on TV. And you said footwork. What else? Was it like
you know, I think generally what I see, and especially when I am playing at a recreational level, that the big difference is preparation. I think these players are so prepared for the ball, for the next shot. That is a huge difference, I feel.
there's more strategy
There,
involved on
there
clay
is,
court?
for sure, without a doubt, you have clay court requires you to be like very fit, right? It takes a toll on your physical toll on your body to play clay court matches, especially like 5 sets.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that if I could take anything away from watching these pros even at Indian Wells earlier this year is just how ready they are before hitting the next ball.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that's huge. I mean, obviously that's a function of your footwork, your general like tracking the ball, from the time it leaves your racket till the time you hit the next ball. I think of course strategy, and one of the things that I noticed, which I am trying to improve on myself at my level, is the transition game. Like these pros have very good transition games actually. Serves are great. I mean, I can't even, there's such a you at a high level, the more high level you play in tennis, you see how important having a good serve is.
Yep.
So then I saw Coco. I think Coco creamed somebody that day. So I think the last match on that court was Svitolina. I think she also had a pretty good tournament. Coco had a good tournament. And then I must say that the match of the day was Rafa versus Zverev. Now, it was it was a great match. Very, very tough first round match for Rafa.
Yeah.
I certainly was not hoping he would play Sasha, because Sasha came in after having won the Italian Open. So he was definitely on form. He was playing well. And I was hoping Rafa could get a couple of like easier for a couple of rounds and then kind of grow into the tournament. Then maybe he had a shot. Because overall, if I look at the match, the atmosphere was great.
It's crazy that they played each other, because the year before they played each other, or the year before that,
Yeah,
but that's when Zverev like tore every single
It was
ligament of his
horrible
ankle.
to
It was
watch.
against
Yeah.
Rafa
It was
first.
rough. 2022.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so those are major moments for both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
And then now it's his last French Open, and they play against each other again. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think
Coincidence.
a couple of years ago when they played in the was it semis term? I think it might have been.
I think it was quarters. I'm not sure though. Yeah. The one in which Zverev got injured. It was
I think Zverev that day, 2 years ago, was playing at a very high level.
Yeah.
Rafa was just slightly better that day because of experience. Otherwise, Zverev would have won against any other opponent that day. And I actually like Sasha, like his game. No, I'm not talking about his off court personality. I'm talking about his game. And Sasha had an unbelievable tournament. Like, I think what I noticed, again, I'll come back to the Rafa match, but what I noticed about Sasha throughout this tournament is he got much more mature and in general tennis.
Yeah, I think he does. He has too, and I feel like people see him still as the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's
like
why I
Djokovic,
feel
he has such a bad rep, and I'm like,
Oh, he got booed a lot
give
in
the
the
guy a
court.
chance,
Yeah.
you know?
I think Sasha is a great player, honestly. Like I want him to win a slam. I actually was, I like Alcaraz, but I wouldn't have been too disappointed if he won, because I think it almost would have been justified. Because he had a very good tournament actually.
He did,
like
yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
He came through a couple of tough matches. He almost lost to Rune. He played amazingly well against who did he played Rune.
Didn't he beat
Rune.
Tsitsipas? Didn't he beat Tsitsipas in one of the rounds? Maybe I'm
Alcaraz
wrong.
Alcaraz played
I don't know.
Tsitsipas. But anyway, I thought Sasha had a very good tournament. But coming back to that match, I think Rafa, obviously didn't have the best lead up to the French Open. He was a bit rusty. He played really well in the second. He was up in the second. He was up in the third. But when you don't play a lot of matches, even for like legends, it makes a difference. Like
Huge difference.
at that level against that kind of an opponent who's a top five, it's really hard. And he made some errors in like decisions in the tiebreak. When he was up in the tiebreak, and he made a couple of errors, and then just like that, it's gone. Again, in the third set, he was up, and once he got broken back, I knew it was over. And I think after the last point, I was very emotional actually. Like, and then Sasha did a really good thing and just kind of not really celebrating, letting Rafa have his moment on Philippe Chatrier. I thought that was a very classy kind of move from Sasha. And then Rafa spoke. I had tears in my eyes. I'll be brutally honest. Like, I was like, the legacy, it's like over, So I think Rafa handled it really well. He always does. And I'm excited that he's going to be back in the Olympics, where he's going to be playing doubles with Alcaraz.
Yep.
So at least we get another opportunity to see Rafa on clay. Anyway, it was a bittersweet moment for me, because I was like, hey, I got to see Rafa live. I got his autograph, but he unfortunately didn't make it through to the next rounds, or let alone win it. But I'm happy that I get to see him.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah.
So that was obviously the highlight. I did get to see Carlos Alcaraz, but just want to shout out, phenomenal tournament. That guy is going to win many more majors. I just hope he stays fit, doesn't get too injured. He's won 3. He has 1 more to go. I think he hasn't won the Australian yet, and I
Each is
fully
on a
believe,
all three are on different surfaces. That's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's going to win the Australian at some point, and Sinner and him are going to have a rivalry for years to come.
Yeah,
They're the
totally.
2 best players on the tour, and I'm very happy for Alcaraz because I was really hoping that he won last year.
Yeah.
And he did it this year in a very, very good final, actually.
Yeah. I think last year, what I heard was last year he cramped a lot against Novak Djokovic. I think there was apparently a lot of nervous energy. It was a hot day.
Yep.
I believe he learned a lot. He came back and to win Wimbledon. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
That's right. And I'm not the biggest fan of Novak, but I have to, I think he I feel bad. Like I think he really wants to win, but I think this time around, I think injury was health took center, like was of primary concern for him. That's why he couldn't continue. But I think I still feel like Musetti should have won that match.
Yeah, he had 2 back-to-back 5-setters and probably injured his meniscus. Yeah, I think he got
he I think like it's so hard to beat Novak in over 5 sets. That's what it is. Like any of these so-called goats.
Yeah.
It's super hard to sustain.
Why don't you like Novak?
I don't like Novak because I have never gotten the vibe from him. I'm talking more about not his play per se on the court, but it's like his off-court personality really bugs me a lot. I feel like
But even the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I feel like I've started like disliking him even more. I just feel like he is I think he's like crying out for attention, honestly. Like and
Really?
some of the antics that he does is really bothering me. But it's just a personal thing. I have nothing against his game. I think he is an amazing, something. Forget about like me not liking his personality, but if I want to comment about his game, like that guy has worked so hard in his life to get to where he's at, whatever he's achieved, because of hard work. It's not that he's not talented. He is. All these 3 guys are talented. But I think what I appreciate about Rafa and Novak is they are like they've had to work hard to achieve what they have. And the sacrifices you have to go through to achieve that kind of greatness, and having that, Novak is mentally the toughest of the 3, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
like
far. Yeah.
That is something that I really like about it. Like you have to beat him. He's not gonna give it to
you. They call it the Novak lockdown mode. When he goes into lockdown mode, you are done. You are done. Yeah.
That is something that if there is something that I really, really like about him, it's annoying sometimes when he's playing like people like Rafa. But that is something that I wish I could get from him, even 5%.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful because those attributes are so crucial.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a higher confidence that he can turn on.
Absolutely. And speaking of these champion-minded attributes, I mean, the thing that I really wanted to mention was Iga Swiatek.
Yes.
Oh my God, she's building an aura right now. This is the 3rd Roland Garros title. She looks unbeatable, untouchable. Like, I think round of 16 and quarterfinal, she gave up just 2 games. It's like there was a double bagel win, and then there was a 6-2, 6-0 win. And she's separating herself from the pack.
You know what is funny, Tarun?
She is, yeah.
I don't know, like, to me, I always joke that, if you're one of those betting people, it's like you always bet that she's gonna like bagel someone. Every time I see the score, there's a bagel in a set.
Yes.
How does someone see? I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't watched a whole lot of Iga. I've seen her, but not a whole lot. What is she doing differently on all these surfaces, whether it's clay, whether it's hard court, whatever, that she's bageling people consistently? That is so hard at a pro level. So can you guys tell me a little bit more about what she's doing? Why is she so successful in bageling people?
Yeah. So what I feel is, I have seen her in Indian Wells, and going by what I have seen her here, I just think it's the footwork. I think the
Mm.
biggest thing, her best attribute is the footwork, and she's able to change direction and hit the ball on the rise. And she's able to, like when she takes full cuts at the ball, when you're so like at least when I'm watching on TV, normally think that this ball is going to be out, but it lands in. It's just she gets into the right positions, and she's able to change directions. And I mean, she has no discernible weakness that can be exploited from what
Yeah.
I've seen so far.
She also has a very particular personality.
Yes.
Like she's very, I don't even know how to explain it, but it reminds me a little bit of Daniel Collins.
Hmm.
That it's just like there's like a different type of focus,
Yeah.
you know? Also like she is not like most of the other players that have like a bunch of friendships and they hang out and they're super social. And she has her own mental coach. She has like a team with her. And if you listen to her interviews, they're like she really thinks about what she says, and she never really says she won't offend anyone. She's very careful for other people's feelings.
Right.
She's very, and it's not like fake.
Yeah.
It's, she cares still.
Yeah.
And which I thought was really funny was that Naomi Osaka and her are actually like becoming friends, which I think is really cool. The
Yeah.
two of them.
Yeah. And they had a brilliant match. That was the match of the tournament.
Yeah.
That was the
I'm a big fan of Naomi.
Mm.
It's good to see her back. I've really
It is.
missed watching her play.
Yes.
I saw her live against Coco Gauff at the Mubarala Open in San Jose. I was an usher. I was working there, so I get to see them live firsthand. So big fan of Naomi. Her personality, she's super nice, and that was obviously the match of the tournament. And
Match point. I mean, 5-2 up, match point. It's incredible. Like, it's just incredible.
This comeback reminded me of what Novak is capable of in men's. Like, you have to beat someone. They're not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
It's just like, she can just turn it on and like, it's really intense focus.
I knew once Osaka got broken, I knew it was over. I just knew it.
Yeah.
Like,
you could sense it.
You sense it, like,
Yeah.
And of course, I genuinely believe I did not see the match live. I saw highlights of it. I knew that the lack of match play is going to affect which is something I'm not sure whether I brought up in an earlier episode for us. But closing matches is the hardest thing ever.
And Iga has like,
especially if you
Iga
haven't played a lot, right? Alex, you can talk about this.
But Iga has come back quite a bit too. Like there's many matches that she's come back.
Yeah.
So she's also good at that.
Yeah. Do you think winning really helps? Like winning matches helps with the mental aspects of dealing with pressure and certain situations so well, because you have won so much, you always believe, even if you're love 5 down in a set, that you can always come back.
Yeah, it reminds me actually of Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Like Serena was she used to always get in these situations that she was down 5-2 in the third set, or like lost the first set and was then down in the finals 4-1, and everyone is like, oh my, Serena's finally gonna lose, and it's like, no, she always came back. Like it happened like 10 times. Match points, crazy matches. So I think Iga, I mean, it's not to the extent of Serena. Serena really had it happen a lot.
Yeah.
But Iga, I've seen like at least like 4 times already that she was down by a lot, and you could just sense like she just turned it around, and then it was done. Against Daniel Collins in the Australian Open too. Same thing happened.
I remember. What are you guys thoughts about like having like the Italians being so successful in this tournament?
Yes.
Like starting with Paulini.
Yep.
Paulini. She reached the finals. I think the mixed doubles had Italians, the doubles had Italians.
Yes.
So what is it? What are the Italians doing that we should learn from?
They're having really good pasta.
There you go.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you would expect like the training that people have in Spain on clay court, that Italy can produce the same thing,
Yeah.
But I don't know what the changes are.
But
Yep.
again, shout out to the Italians for having a super, super duper French Open 2024. Hopefully, they continue to be successful on other surfaces as well. Let's see. Anybody else that we should talk about? Oh, I should say that I also watched. I mentioned about Sumit Nagal practicing. I actually ended up watching his match too on the outside courts
Nice.
against Karen Hachinov. First two sets, I think Karen blew him away. Third set was very close. It went to a tiebreak. Sumit was actually up in the tiebreak, but again, this is where experience helps. He wasn't able to close, and Hachinov won the third on the tiebreak. So great, great, great to see an Indian make a mark in the world of tennis. I think he's just moved up to be a top 80 in the world. So let's go, Sumit Nagal. Keep doing it. And one of the final matches I watched on the day I was there was Daniel Medvedev against Kopka. I forget exactly how he pronounces it. It's just German guy. Uh, Daniel doesn't look that comfortable on play.
Play.
But
Yeah,
I
is it the
actually
movement? He doesn't like the movement, right? Or is it the ball striking?
I don't know. It's just like some people, it's just one
Yeah.
of those things where you're
Yeah,
not
he
like
hates clay. He
fan.
also hates gritty hard courts. He was complaining about the Indian Wells surfaces last year.
He is,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's an entertaining guy. Like I actually like him a lot because I feel like he speaks his mind. He's very honest. Um, he doesn't hold back, and it was good watching him play. Actually, like he has some funky technique, man. Like but he's super consistent. Um,
Oh, that
he
backhand, he never misses that backhand.
he doesn't miss the backhand exactly.
Never,
But
ever.
I got to see that was a night match, a fun match. And overall, I think he ended up winning in four. I think it should not have been four sets, but I think it was. When you're not comfortable on a surface, it takes a little bit longer to kind
Yep.
of get to grips with things. He didn't have the best of tournaments. Makes sense. He's French. Clay is not his best surface, but it was good to see him nonetheless. Who did I not see? I didn't see Alcaraz live. I wish I did.
Hmm.
I didn't. Who else? Who else? Who's in the top 10? I didn't see. I didn't see Fritz, Tommy Paul, any of these guys live. Rublev had a very disappointing tournament. I think he did not play well this tournament, which was surprising.
Good
Uh,
question.
yeah,
For the people that are thinking about should we go to a Grand Slam or not? Should we
yeah,
go watch? And especially like for like parents taking their kids.
yeah.
Like how important do you think or how helpful do you think it is to go to like a big tournament or just like tournaments where pros are playing?
Um, Good question because I think we should. We first of all, I think it's good to go to watch live tournaments. It's a different feeling, great atmosphere. But what I must say is, I think of all the tournaments I've been to, I have only been to Roland Garros. I've been to Wimbledon, but not during Wimbledon. I think Indian Wells generally for the price, the value, and general accessibility to the courts is the best value for money. Uh, I I recommend anybody who has the opportunity to go to Indian Wells to go to Indian Wells. Can really see players up front. Like it's a great experience, not that expensive. Now the problem is with the French Open, getting tickets is really hard and super expensive. So it's not cheap and it's really hard to get. US Open, I actually want to go this year. I'm not sure whether I'll end up, but again, I think if you live in the US and you like tennis, Indian Wells and US Open are probably two that you should try to attend.
Yeah, and I think the reason that it's so helpful is because you get to really see what it takes.
For me,
Like it's shocking to see it in person.
Yep.
for me, what I really enjoy is actually watching them practice.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's like you get a much closer look at them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's great. Like you get to learn the most, I think, watching these pro players practice.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
that's why I suggested Indian Wells, because I think you get such a closer look at close up of these guys, men and women, and it's both
Yeah.
men and women. So it's not just men's. That's the other thing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So US Open for sure. Now I'm planning to go to Australian Open in a couple of years' time. So I can obviously talk about that when I do go. Different continent altogether, right? And one day I want to go to the Wimbledon. Wimbledon. I've been there, but I've actually not watched matches. I went off season. I also heard that getting tickets is not
It's
easy.
very tough. It's a lottery. I believe there's a lottery system there in Wimbledon.
There's a
It's
lottery
not easy.
system, and if you're not in the lottery system, the recommended thing is to go stand in line super duper early in the morning, and that's how some of my friends have gotten it.
Yeah,
So,
it's not easy.
definitely the advice is try to go to the tournaments. If you live in California or nearby, Indian Wells is the one to go to for sure. And if you live in the US, then definitely try to attend US Open, Flushing. You can
Yeah.
also see like uh, practice, but my friend told me it's a little bit harder to see the practice.
Yeah.
I actually thought the Roland Garros accessibility to the practice courts and general viewing was really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it's like it's very much worth it. I think it's like the feeling that especially as kids you can get, how you can
Yeah.
feel inspired. Like I've had some of my kids go to Indian Wells and come back and like it really was different. They would
yeah.
just like care more. They would want it more.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I
Yes.
think in general, seeing anything live has more impact than
Yeah.
not seeing it live, basically.
Yeah. Because you feel it. You're connecting, you're seeing what's happening.
Yep.
And I think if you do that maybe a few times a year, even twice a year,
Yeah.
I think it can really help. Because not, I think the biggest difference here in the States, because it's so big, is you're not going to have access to a lot of good players that you're around.
Yep.
And so in a lot of different countries, it's much easier to like see a pro practice, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
And so I think it is very important to go to college matches, go
Yep.
to pro matches in person, to get
Totally.
that experience of like, oh, that's what it takes. Oh, I actually do need to move a lot more. Okay, my coach is not just, saying these
Yeah,
things.
they're just yelling at me for no good reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think TV
I
is so
think
different. People
Yeah.
don't really connect that much.
Yes.
I agree. You said a bunch of good things there, Alex. Like I think going to these college tennis matches is
It's
just
key,
great.
yeah.
Is good. Then last year I went to now that they don't have the Mubadala Open in Silicon here in
Stanford and Berkeley is a good place to
yeah, I
watch.
went to the Stanford Golden Gate Open where I
Yes.
saw actually like basically challenger level
Yeah.
people. So great. See, the advantage of going to these events, which are like challengers or something or future challenger level, is you get to see players close up, and that makes such a big difference. Like just seeing
Yeah.
people close up, you can take some
Yeah.
videos, you can actually like really look at their footwork because you're getting close up views, and that's what I got out of seeing pros practice at Indian Wells or even at the French Open than what you can see when you're sitting up high at the stands,
Yes.
like
Yes.
bleachers or something, right?
Yes.
And
It's good view of high level tennis. Yes.
that's the thing, right? So
Yeah. I think when you're like impressed with someone, like that's that feeling, or it could even be like, wow, he or she is so fit. Wow, okay. And it could be that you're just like, yeah, I really do want that. Okay, I'm gonna get fit.
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah,
whoa, that person's forehand is like so good. I think that moment that you get like impressed,
Inspiration. Yes.
inspiration. I
Yes.
think inspiration is key. Yeah.
I think so. And then you know what, your love for the game like rises also when you see
Yeah.
good these guys are. Then if you're a serious tennis player, like you want to train more, you want to get better, you want to like move a little bit up from your current level, right?
For sure.
Yes.
So it's pretty fascinating. And overall, just to like conclude my own experience, I had a blast. I My friend and I, we literally stayed there from morning till evening till almost the last set of matches. There were a few interruptions due to rain, but at the end of the day, I think they got all the matches in, most of the matches in. The atmosphere, the vibe of the place was so amazing. I had a blast. I mean, we paid a bit of a high price for it, but I think it was all worth it at the end of the day.
Sure.
Not just because I got to see Nadal, but in general, I think it was my first Grand Slam, like proper Grand Slam that I've been to. And being a tennis lover, I think we should all go to at least one or two Grand Slams. So I had a great time. I was very happy with my experience overall. And I would love to do it again, but hopefully I get to go to Australian and the US
Yep.
Open.
It's nice.
Yep.
So, and yeah.
And the other thing I would say is I just really wish that we had more clay courts around.
Yes. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So more for Alex. I think, Alex, you grew up in Netherlands on clay. So as a surface, if you can explain the nuances of clay, what do you think, how it's different, and what kind of tennis it encourages and what's needed to succeed on them?
It's the slowest surface, and the ball bounces higher. So like playing with spin like really impacts more.
Yeah.
It really bounces more. Your strokes are slower, the ball is going slower. You need to really, I feel like the biggest thing is balance really on clay, like movement and balance. Like if you're fit enough and strong enough to move really well and like slide,
Yeah.
and then from that balance you can really have good strokes. And I think it's like endurance and mental toughness. That's why I think it's so important to have enough time on clay, because it's just such good attributes that can help you if you're all round game. And I think, I mean, if you're only playing on clay, you're also missing out on a lot of things of like coming to the net a bunch and trying to finish points sooner, serve +1, but I think it's definitely a big part of the game that I don't think everyone gets the opportunity to really train on. So yeah, I wish that there were more clay courts here for sure.
Yeah, I was actually listening to Roddick's Serve Tennis podcast. He was talking about the challenges of playing on clay, where he said he would struggle with the sliding on clay. Like it's not a very natural thing. It takes a long time to get used to sliding. It's more efficient way to reach to the ball.
It teaches you to move better and like to use your legs more. You learn how to use your legs and be balanced.
Yeah.
I try to get my players to go to Spain to an academy for like 2 or 3 weeks. Not every year, but like even just once, as a kid. I think it makes such a difference, because like also just being in the atmosphere of players practicing and expecting to hit the ball in all the time.
Yeah.
And everyone like having that mindset of like, I'm just going to make all the balls.
Yeah.
It's just a different mindset.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere. So what it was, I think it was one of a books by an author. Maybe I'll link it. So what they were saying was that clay, it's so on hard courts and faster courts, people who are not balanced, who, like, for instance, if you have a weak backhand, you can get away with it on hard courts. You can just ball skids off, just block it. It goes back with reasonable depth. Clay, no. If you have a weakness, it will be exploited. It will be punished. Is what I hear.
I feel like, so I'm gonna personally speak there because I have a weaker backhand.
Count me in. I have no backhand.
I agree. But you can
also. Yes, you agree that I have no backhand?
No. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm saying like you can get away to a certain level with having less of a backhand if you can move really well and you have a good slice.
Yes.
Because like on clay, you have more time, so you use your forehand more than on the other courts.
Right.
So, and you can kick with your serve, you can strategize around weakness better.
Yeah.
But there comes a moment that there comes a level, even though there's some players out there that only slice their backhand, not many.
Yeah.
But there comes a moment that it's too hard, it's too physical, if you don't have a backhand or you're having a real weakness.
That's true. And you have to deal with bad bounces too, right? Often, like ball will randomly kick up or stay low.
Yeah, but yeah, I would say if they really upkeep it really well, it's not
Okay.
that bad.
Okay.
But it's definitely more so. But
Yeah.
like for example, Katie
Yeah.
Volley-Nets, she was obviously having the clay court season too. And there were a few tournaments that she was just like, yeah, the bounces were crazy. Like it was just like so hard and like on, pivotal moments.
Right.
But you also have plenty of tournaments that it's really not that big of a deal. So it really depends on the tournament.
Yeah.
The courts. I think in America the blue clay, the blue cold clay,
Right.
it's called hard true, right?
Yeah, hard true clay. Yeah, it's the company
Yeah.
that makes it. Yeah, blue clay.
The ones that I experienced in Florida were worse. The bounces were worse. Maybe it was
Okay.
just tournaments that I played, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I think with that, we come to the end of episode number 8. Thank you, as usual, for listening, for watching, wherever you might get this on Spotify, where it's an audio platform, of course, on YouTube. Again, Tennishackery with a Y is our name and handle. So you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on X, which used to be Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Every new subscriber we get, just amplifies our voice, and and we are on this amazing journey of trying to reach out and trying to talk about tennis, and I'm sure that we would be so happy to have you in this journey along with us. With that, we bid you adieu, end of episode 8. Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.